Hi, Tim Sells here. In this series of videos, I'm talking about what prevents somebody from becoming a rep. And this particular video is not looking at reality correctly. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. All right, so what is going on? Well, we're in a planet-wide created chaos. And what's chaos? Well, it's confusion, right? For me, network marketing has always been about freedom. And you'll understand why I make that statement right here. Okay, so I want to show a 1976 movie clip because I think it's going to best set the tone for what I'm going to talk about.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
All right, so that was 45 years ago, and it's pretty much still the same. I don't know if you noticed that when you were watching it. And no, I'm not mad. All right, I'm actually amused at it because it's literally funny when you see that it's just this constant repetition of things. What he was talking about is basically very much the same thing that's going on right now. All right, so what's creating the confusion? Inability to evaluate data. All right? Never learned is one of the reasons. Okay, you just never learn to evaluate a piece of data. It's never been something that's forefront of your mind. And number two is that if you never learned how to evaluate the data, then you're likely to hand over the reins. And I use this word reins because it has to do with horses, and controlling horses. And so the reins is this part right here that the person is holding. And you can just imagine that, that if you let go of the reins, now you're just kind of like hanging out and the horse is going to go where the horse wants to go. And very often, if you don't know how to evaluate data, you give the reins to somebody else to evaluate the data. I've often said many times in these videos is that if someone doesn't have the ability to evaluate, they must take on the opinion of another. All right? And that can be dangerous. You have to really vet the person that you're allowing to hang on to the reins. All right? So that's really the scene. And if I can just, like everybody in their own life, this is just a change box that was on my desk, and I drug it out here, and it's got coins in it, and well, a washer for hose, you know, just different stuff in it, and because I want to just kind of describe to you the way that I view it. It's a simple concept here, and that is that when you look at the news feed or the Facebook feed or what your friend's sending you or what's going on in Skype and what's going on in Telegram and what's going on, all of this stuff becomes data and it all merges together and it looks like a change box or a coin bag. right? And so you have to kind of pick it up and look at it and look at a piece of data. Like each one of these are a piece of data. And what you're trying to do is that you're trying to find that one that's more important. How do you determine if it's more important? Well, how does it affect your life? Okay, so if it affects your life, then you need to pull it out. If it's something that's going on somewhere else that doesn't affect your life, it's a lower priority. All right. So I'm going to come back to this a little bit later on. And because towards the end of this, I'm going to be talking about that and how to do it. Okay. So if you don't know how to do this, you hand the reins over to somebody, and they better be trustworthy. And you can also keep evaluating that. Inability to differentiate propaganda from truth. This is going to be a series of videos, this particular one. And I've been working on several other ones, and I just can't even believe, like, you're going to crack up laughing when you see some of this stuff that's just proven now as propaganda, and how it all happens. Okay, so it's the inability to differentiate propaganda. All right, that's false information purposely done to manipulate a public. So for those who want to control, they use propaganda. And then there is, you could call it omitting on purpose. And so in other words, something may be there that's truthful, but they're omitting it. And so you can also view that. All right. Much of it is hidden, false, subversion, and distraction. Okay, so in other words, fill the news feed so that what we're hiding isn't apparent. Okay, kind of a thing. All right, another one, so inability to evaluate. Another main topic is the speed at which it comes. Okay, so it's just boom, 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 boom. You don't have time to evaluate. Therefore, you end up handing everything over. You become numb, and you become a non-citizen, almost non-human, because it creates this day's sort of a, like, I don't know, I just got this picture of you walking into a darker room from being outside where it's really, really bright, and you come in and it's kind of hazy, right? It's kind of can't see. The same way if you went the other way. You come out of a dark room out into the sun and you're like, whoa. It's the same thing. People, if you watch somebody who's watching TV a lot, they get in a trance. And that's all that it really takes in order to just program. All right? And I'm not talking about the television show that you're watching. I'm talking about the programming of the television, like that it's very easy when you're in a trance to do that because you're in the fog of war, all right? And then the main thing, and I wrote about this in a video quite a while ago, a year and a half or so, everything seems to be about an emergency, danger, antagonism, oh my gosh, unbelievable. That's sort of a thing where it draws you in and you feel as though that you've got to be involved. Thinking you must join the confusion. All right, so that sits here. And then don't join the confusion until you've evaluated it. And again, I'm going to go back to my change box in just a minute. Okay, so I want you to just picture this, because this is how I do. And that is that I have my world. And what is my world? Well, I live up on a farm. I've got a family. I have church. I have friends, I have this thing, right? I have these items that are in my world. And I like to look at a piece of data over here, right? It's a piece of information is all that it is. I've not evaluated it yet. And so I'll just look at it, and That is a point of view. I can look at it from this angle, around the back, or upside down, or this way, or back the other way. In other words, I'm going to look at it from all different angles. It's a point of view. And I can have a point of view that, let's say that somebody that's sitting right here might have a different point of view. So you always need to be looking at it from the perspective of your world and what you want in your world, right? And so you are independent from the world. So it's your point of view versus another's point of view, okay? And just because it's their point of view doesn't mean it's your point of view, right? I'm giving you basically the liberty to look at it where you can say, no, I don't want that. Or, yeah, I do want that. Okay, so it's just a piece of data. And it can be any one of these things, right? So here's a penny, right? Sits there. It's just a penny. Okay, so what is it? Right. Here's the world. And each one of these items is just something, right? Some piece of information. It's all that it is. But it looks all the same. That's the problem, is that you're looking down inside of a change box and you're like, all I see is pennies, right? And so whether or not you bring that into your world or not is optional. And most people don't really know that because they just accumulate all of it and then they can't distinguish what's really, really important for them. So this is my world. When I plug into the TV, I am receiving another's viewpoint. When I plug into the internet, I'm receiving another's viewpoint. When I send my kids to school, they are receiving another's viewpoint. If you think about it, you're taking your precious child, you're handing it over to a stranger, and you're saying, I'll see you in 6 or 7 hours. For, I don't know, 15 years, 16 years, 17 years. It's like crazy as an idea. So it's not you building your family unit. It's about handing it off. And so you got to really evaluate that school. You got to very much evaluate that, the teachers and such and the other students, because, that's how crazy ideas, whole movements and things like that occur, is because of that phenomenon. All right. So choose what you want and what you don't want. I hit a CNBC, it's a business-based station, and I read this article, and it says, I'm reading it, right? Unemployment and job metrics have improved for all, but the wealthy, white, and higher educated have done better than the others. Federal data show. Anything strike you? And that is what I mean when I'm talking about a data. That data right there is programming. You can accept that or not. It doesn't make any logical sense in that sentence. None whatsoever. So, white is not the cause of doing better. They just drop that piece in there. Okay, so now you can get this picture of what I'm talking about is me, my world, there's data, I connect into a TV or the internet, I'm getting other people's data coming in. I can say, nope, not going to happen here. All right? Because this is not logical in that. If I can show one white person who has not improved, then it's not about race. Okay, so this whole racial inequality, all right, it's junk to me. I've grown up around every kind of color person. I'm a color person, right? In other words, it has zero to do with it, all right? So this is pure propaganda. I immediately unsubscribe. I won't receive anything from that organization again. I know that they are on the propaganda line. They are trying to give propaganda stealthily inside of a real piece of data. Okay, So since I opened that can of worms, let's just go ahead and touch it. Teaching versus training. There is a huge difference, all right? Teaching is theory. Training is application. And teaching in the education world, and I'm talking about school, is mostly theory. And that's the problem. Right? So they're not taking that out there and saying, birds is a species. Okay, so no, go out and photograph 10 different species of birds. Identify what are their differences. Identify what are their similarities. Now that would be the application of understanding, the life of fowl, right? So that's the concept that is really missing, I think. Tim Sales, was not equal in my 4th grade to 12th grade classes. I was not equal, okay? I was below the lowest person in the room. Okay? So why? Because of my color? No, it's not even logical. You can't connect any other data points to that. All right, there is no lineup of factual truth in that. Okay? All right. So, merit system versus spoils system. Spoils system, the practice of filling appointive public offices with friends and supporters of the ruling political party. That's called the spoils system. It's true also in a company or a business or something like that. They can be sifting for this sorts of thing. Someone in a position of hiring could be prejudiced. So the reason that I'm showing you this is that, yes, there could be prejudice going on. But it's not because, in other words, somebody didn't have it better off because they were white. It's because they have a person who is recruiting people who is prejudiced. Now, what I recommend everybody get onto is the merit system. Rewards based on competency and real production. And that's one of the reasons I like network marketing so much, is because it's based solely on the merit system. And anybody and everybody should be on the merit system and only the merit system, because it is the most productive of all systems. And then that way, the boss's daughter or the boss's son-in-law doesn't get the rank advance because of who they are. Right? That's the reason. It's all based upon production. Okay, so again, choose what you want and don't want. So your world, something's coming this way, just exit out. Nope, don't want that. I'll take that. That sort of a thing. You get to pick and choose. Okay, yes, I'm connected to the world. I need things from the world. Okay, so a lot of people sometimes feel as though I'm out of here, right? And so they just completely disconnect. And so they've given the reins for the planet over to somebody else. Who? I don't care who. Because we do have responsibilities in our community. We have responsibilities in our state. We have responsibilities as a countryman or woman. All right? Every one of us do. And so it's not about hiding and not doing anything. But I must evaluate carefully what I include. All right. So I don't have to agree with what everything goes on. In fact, I disagree with much that goes on. Okay, so what's most important? How do you choose which parts to evaluate? What can affect your world? All right, so you look down through here and you got in your mind, what's most important in my life? Okay, so if I just did that, I would hop over and I would say something like really, really simple, right? So I'd say, my family. Okay? And so I would take out, okay, so if it can affect my family, all right, well, that's a silver dollar, real silver dollar. If that can affect me, I'm going to put that on the table that I'm going to evaluate. Okay, so anything having to do with schools, anything having to do with medical inside schools, anything that has to do with their education, anything that has to do with their health that is related to food, anything that has to do with my close environment. You know, I live on a farm and things like that. And so I'm not worried about them joining a gang or something like that. I'm more worried about them like falling in a river and ending up down in Gulf of Mexico. So you're going to extract out. Okay, so here's another one, important. That's going to be my wife. Okay, so if it affects her, I'll pull out another one and it's going to be less important. So I'll pull out a quarter on that one. You know, so that's the way that you do it. And I'll show you a picture in just a second. When choosing what can affect your world, volume of or repetition of does not equal senior priority. Now that's very, very important, because if you'll notice in the news feed, they start pounding a story over and over and over. Repetition. And they are trying to raise something that is of a penny value. They're trying to raise it up to a senior value. That's why they keep repeating it over and over and over again. And so anytime I watch that behavior, I pretty much never watch that channel again. Okay, it's not. Okay, now, if you've seen my video, a lot of them, you will see one thing. There is a repetition of the pipeline, because it is for people who want to earn money, whether they are in network marketing or whether they are in sales in corporate America or whether the pipeline is the senior piece of information of the entire industry of sales and marketing. The pipeline is it. And that is the reason that I constantly repeat it. Okay? All right. And the other thing is that don't set this up once and leave it. Okay. So evaluate what can affect you. The lower priority, find a good source. Okay. So this would be number one. I'm going to create a bucket. I'm going to put the information as I gather it, and I'm looking for, so this would have to do with my kids, let's say. And so I'm looking at it and I'm trying to find points that keep adding up. All right. This plus this plus this equals this. And they're very, very important pieces of data. And I'm going to, over the next couple of videos, you're going to see me doing it so I can show you examples. And then the second one, do next. And then the third bucket, if you will, I call it someday maybe. I may get to that someday. It's not as important. But these I'm going to do in sequence, okay? The way I like to look at it is, it's probably a little bit difficult to see, but this guy's got an axe and he's chopping a tree. And the way that I view it is, I got this from James Clear in Atomic Habits. I think that's where I got it from. Okay. But what it has to do with is that when you just take a tree and an axe, and let's say that you have 50 trees, and let's suppose that the way you went about it is that you hit an axe into one tree one time, and then you went to another tree and hit another axe, or hit another tree with an axe. And you did that all the way around. How long would it take for you to knock this tree down? That's not the way to go about it. When I get focused, just like in network marketing, I take two and I'm going to keep on chopping one tree. So in other words, I prioritize do now, and that's what I do. And I will not move off of it unless something really, really, really big pops up. Okay? And I do run through, and one of my employees, I actually assigned the task to him and said, look, I got to stay focused. I want you to keep your eyes on this particular item. Okay, so something was going on in the world, heavy news feed on it, a lot of different information was coming about. I would pull off and I would look at sources elsewhere off of the media stream. I would go to more citizen-based news feeds and I would look at them, and I'd have him do it. And so he would update me only if it was very urgent. Okay? So that kind of gives you an idea of the way that I've constructed my life. And so that I end up keeping in my world what I want in my world and what I don't want in my world out of my world. Okay? And it creates an incredible life. It creates a peace of mind. It creates one of tremendous stability. And so that I'm not, constantly being whirled by people who shouldn't be able to affect me. All right. So, all right. So your thoughts on your world versus the world. Do you have a choice? Let me know in the comments down below. If you know somebody who struggling a little bit, send them this video. This is not necessarily specific to network marketing. Just send them the video so that they can get this idea. It really does raise you up above the fray. It raises you up above the weeds. It raises you above, and so that you can just look at and make decisions. All right. And so it'll put a smile on your face. Thanks for watching.